Hey everyone, welcome to the Electric Supercar channel. Today, if everything goes well, this will be the last time we see Clifford. For those of you who are new, we've got Clifford, the big red truck, and we've been working through several issues over the last few weeks to try and get him up and running and back to the client. Like with several projects, we've had our fair share of troubles and troubleshooting. Today's no different. We've got some of the last problems we're trying to get through. Hopefully this gets everything out of the way and back to the customer. Let's get to it. Today's video is sponsored by Pion Power. It's a portable power generator, but more on them later. All right, you can see here on the board, we have several problems we've identified. We've been crossing them off as we get through them. There are still several more to get to. Let me tell you about those. Came back from our test drive, we had a couple things. Number one, we couldn't get our line lock. We couldn't get enough pressure in our line lock to lock the front wheels and do a proper burnout. We could do a rolling burnout, but not lock the front wheels. Came back and found that we had a brake leak just from the master cylinder. That's one thing we need to fix. Another thing is we're getting quite a bit of flex in the firewall when we do push on the brakes. This particular car, I think, had the brakes going through the floor, not the front firewall. So we're gonna do some things to reinforce that. Contactors. When I was driving, I heard like, see if we can. What sounded like contactors, may have been relays, but I thought it was contactors. It sounded like they were closing and opening. And again, they should not be doing that. So likely I'm thinking that's like a loose ground or something like that. We'll have to check it out. I need to do thermistor wiring. I've not done that yet. Like 64 wires I need to do. So it shouldn't be too bad. We'll figure that out. So yeah, we talked about pump while charging. So we got that rewired. So when it's charging, the pump comes on, but if the car is off, DC to DC is not on. So if you're charging for like 3 hours or overnight, 12-volt battery will die and the pump won't be going. So need to figure out a way to make the DC to DC come on while we're charging with key off. So there's just a few things we need to work on. We'll try and knock those out real quick. Some of those probably aren't video worthy, but we're gonna do them anyway. I'll keep you posted. So this is what we did not want to see. We got Clifford back on the lift. Because we need to change the voltage for one module, we have to take the whole pack down. So that's what we're going to do. Drain it, take it down, charge it. We dug this one out. We believe this is the module that's low, meaning all 6 cells are a little bit low. All the other ones are like 4.1. These are all reading at 3.7. So we got Russ here. He's got quite the setup, and we're going to go ahead and get this one charged up. And I believe what Russ is doing, he'll tell me if I'm wrong, but we're gonna hook up to the negative and the positive. Then we actually have cell taps for this system he's got that'll kind of help monitor each cell group. So we're using our new power supply here. No sparks, no sparks. Green light, that's good. Better than a red light.
Okay, so we're gonna go, what is your overall voltage that you want to get to? 22.30.
Is it that one? Oh, yeah. The low cells are 19 through 24, and I was thinking that this was like 12, therefore this would be, but no, this is 6, 12, 18. It goes back to that one.
Okay, so we're not losing our minds.
Well, just me.
Yeah.
Green again, good.
Checking the pack. Should come up here.
Let's check those cell voltages again there. That's the one we want to change. All right, the cell voltages are gradually increasing. Again, we started off 3.7. We're kind of coming up now. Those are the cells. All right, we just finished charging the low cell groups, and now they're all within the range of the other ones. We also did some internal resistance testing just to see if the whole module was somehow bad. It seems to match the other modules. So fingers crossed, but we're gonna go ahead and button this one back up and call it good. All right, we've got all the high voltage back, so it's time to kind of reassemble things. I will say these screws that I have to shift to prevent the modules from shifting, they work very well, because there was one time where I was trying to push a module, like really kind of I was like, man, why is it stuck on? I was like, oh, I got those. So meaning It'll take quite a bit of force to move those, so I'm pleased with those anchor points. But now we're gonna go ahead and put some automotive sealant on everything and get it all back together. You've probably seen in the first part of the episode, we have been using this new power supply, which is from Pion Power. This is the E600 LFP. So think of this as a portable power generator, but without the need for gas. So essentially this is a very powerful battery and can let you work remotely for hours and hours depending on what you're doing. To charge it, you've got here, you can either do it with solar, and it comes with cables that will connect to your solar. Wall outlet, I'm gonna charge that here. It says it'll charge it kind of from empty to full in about 3 hours. So it does have fans on the side to help with thermal management while you're charging or discharging this unit. It also has a nice display to kind of tell you exactly what you need. And on this side, you've got your DC out. This is your 12 volts, so things like for your car, power outlet, or you just have 2 terminals. Also, you've got, this is kind of USB out. Again, that's to charge things. And one of the cool features is right on top, you can do wireless charging. So one of the problems in the shop is always cords and cables. We've got a cable here. And again, this is not staged. This is just how things roll. So over here as well, we've got it from the ceiling. It's coming over here to power some other things. So again, one of the challenges in a shop is always cords and cables. Let's show a real world use case. Pick this up with its nice handle. Again, not too bad, just a little under 20 pounds. So I've got an extension cord here with 3 things plugged in. One is this light, so we can kind of light up what we're doing. Got another one that is for a Dremel tool. And the other one is actually a laptop. So we're gonna go ahead and replace all these with this one. Let's do all 3. So right around 90 watts for 4.5 hours. That is pretty awesome product. But I'm also gonna show off the 12 volt output. That's just kind of a 12 volt to a USB. Again, that charges it via 12 volts. We can also charge it with these, or even this. So this is a portable power station. It is compact yet powerful, so 1200 watts, and it weighs in at just under 20 pounds. This could really transform like any outdoor adventure, from really roughing it to bringing whatever you need, even a microwave. If you really want to be disconnected, this can charge via solar. This can support up to 80% of high wattage appliances like toasters, microwaves, coffee makers, hair dryers, electric skillets. And it's great to have an emergency, so if the power's out, you can still get those essential things running. So it is clean and quiet. It operates at only 50 decibels, and it can maintain up to 80% of its original capacity after 3,500 charges. So I know this is actually gonna help out a lot around the shop. Oftentimes we're fighting for cords or tripping over them. So something like this is great for my shop. If you're looking for something like this, I'll leave a link in the video description below. All right, I just put the front battery box back in. One other thing we're gonna do, so in between the battery boxes, we just got lots of wires, and I just don't love the idea that it's kind of open. So we designed kind of a cover or bridge between the battery boxes. That way, kind of that whole section underneath is gonna be somewhat protected, or kind of like just one big battery box. This does mean drilling holes in the frame, which we know was a bad situation for this truck, but we're gonna make sure that we don't have any problems. So I've got my borescope just to make sure there's no wires where we're gonna be drilling. So again, no wires. Some wires, but they're up on the side a little bit, so I think we're okay. Okay, so that way it can only go through that far. All right, so that's what it looks like. Again, the thought isn't necessarily to get it watertight, but just kind of keep all the wires and hands or anything kind of out of the way. So we got a pretty good close fit. We may put a little bead of silicone on there, some automotive sealant, but yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. This was the last session that we did, and you can see right here, like the difference is a 4.1 for all the other cells, and these are at 3.7, so those 6 cells. So we're gonna go ahead and start a new session and see what all the cells are. This is after we've turned things on. Now they're all very much in the same realm. So as I mentioned, we'll probably drive this around, kind of discharge all the cells a little bit, and then charge them, make sure they're kind of going up and down like all the other cells. So I think this is good. We've run the car a bunch. We're now charging it, just making sure that they kind of go up and down with all the other cells. So it's looking good. So one was when we did our test drive, we actually heard some, what sounded like contactor clicking. And so that's one of the things we need to figure out. We definitely do not want contactors closing or opening without us wanting them to close or open. So I think there's one of two possibilities. It's either a loose ground or we've got a cell problem where basically it's like a loose wire or something, like where the cell voltage is good and then it's not good and then it's good. So either way, I think it's kind of a loose wire situation. So we're gonna change the pre-charge and contactor circuit. We're gonna look for some of those loose wires. All right, we found another loose connection. I'll just show you here. So it's 4.0 and it's really steady. So if we go to the next one, you can see it kind of bouncing around, 0.3, 0.2, but it's bouncing around. The BMS tells us, so that's good. But man, this wiring mess, I kind of wish we had just started from scratch, because relying on an unknown and having that unknown kind of continually cause problems. Yeah, just wish we had started from scratch, but we'll get there. To address the one wire, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna make a new wire essentially from plug to plug. What that means is I'm just gonna jack this up, get underneath, find the exact plug, pull it out, depin it, crimp on a new pin. Hopefully that's got it. If it's actually inside the battery module or inside the battery box, oh, I think I'm gonna cry. All right, we got this jacked up, and I tried to record some stuff down there, but I really couldn't. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see anything, but like, we need to take out pin number 2, and it is like really screwed up. So maybe that's why it's having all the issues. It turned out that one of the wires was kind of going through, I'll call it the backing plate, like in the wrong hole. And so basically it was kind of being pinched or squished with another wire. I think that's why we're getting some interesting voltages, but was able to get those pins out. I just did a whole new wires from beginning to end because I didn't want a chance it might have been something else. And it seems to be okay. So when we turn on the BMS, we get all green lights, no bad voltages or anything like that. A couple minor wiring tweaks. The Regen was not working while braking. So when the Regen was going on, the brake lights were not going on. So we're gonna fix that one. That one should hopefully be pretty quick. All right, we've got the back end lifted off the ground. We're gonna see if we can do some Regen testing. Confirm we have brake lights. Yes. I think we may have to do a road test. I'll try one more time, but I think it's looking for a certain amount of amps that it's regenerating before it'll turn this on, and without kind of the motion of the car to kind of help. So the way it works is it has to meet a certain threshold, otherwise it won't turn on the brakes. So if it regens a little bit, even though it's slowing the vehicle down, it's not slowing it enough to actually turn on the brake lights. But basically there's a light here, there's a light right in the middle on the iPad that says brake regen. And basically that's not coming on. So meaning in the road, when I do it, it comes on. So I think I'm just gonna have to take it for a road drive. Just got back from quick drive. We've got the Regen working. However, power steering wasn't working and the power brakes went out. So those are not awesome. I think I found the power steering problem. Power brakes, so we'll still need to do some more looking. So right there, that wire's out. So that's the power steering one. We'll have to look for the power brakes. I checked all the fuses, circuit breakers, everything's good there. So we'll just have to keep looking. Tell you, when we get this finalized, it is gonna be a sweet ride. The power brakes are not working. So no fault, but we did lose power brakes. So the power brakes kicked my butt for a couple days. See, no power brakes now. I actually wired up a light. So I have a light bulb set up. This is connected to the brake booster, the keyed ignition. So essentially when we turn on the key, I should turn this on, and I'm gonna go for a drive and see if I can find out when or if it's losing power. So here's on. I can hear it engage and everything. So we'll go ahead and drive it around and see what I can learn. Never saw anything. So I finally just did all new wires from plug to plug for the brake system, and that seemed to fix it. I have gone through the engine bay here and kind of redone all the wiring. So basically, I just wanted to make sure there was no shorts, no loose wires, no open wires. I did find a couple open wires, but I was able to kind of redo all these wires all the way across here, all the way back to the battery. Another issue was the brake pressure. We weren't quite able to get enough brake pressure to do a proper burnout. Some of that was we noticed that there was a leak in the brake line. So the leak was right here on the master cylinder. You could kind of just do that and it was kind of wet, and you kind of saw down here and it was wet. So with extreme brake pressure, we were able to get some leaks. So that's one of the things we need to check and fix. So the other issue was the actual firewall would flex quite a bit during braking. So again, the original brake system, I think, was floor mounted, and the customer, they put this one in, and there's just a lot of flex, meaning this isn't super rigid. So we have developed a couple plates to hopefully help spread out that load and make it a little more rigid. First we did scanning, then we did a design, and now we got the pieces and we're going to install them.
Okay, I'm working on the Ford's brake booster. This brake booster has been put in, obviously this is a Tesla brake booster, and so it's not meant for this vehicle, so the firewall has been kind of cut up quite a bit. Needed to strengthen this firewall. Braden scanned the firewall, scanned the brake booster, and came up with a couple designs. It's got this bracket here, so we're basically going to replace this with our own plates that integrate it into a firewall strengthening system, we'll say. So here are the 3D prints that Braden made. I tested them and they fit just fine, so we got them cut out of steel. Here are the painted brackets now, so we just have to assemble these. I also had to drill some holes through the firewall to anchor it in some more places, kind of spread out the load. That's the piece that we'll bolt to the firewall, and then we'll bolt the other plates to the master cylinder and bolt it all together. All right, these are the bolts that go all the way through to the brake pedal bracket and brake pedal. This will go on. Perfect. All right, everything's tight now. Got these tight, everything's good. Solid. I'm gonna step on the brake pedal and see how much it moves.
Okay, here's the difference. Oh my gosh, that's like hardly any movement. Good job.
It felt really solid, and I was looking at the firewall inside, and so I think we're good. That's really, really strong. Way, way better than it was before.
So the other one is charging. So we've not yet fully charged, like topped it off. So we need to make sure that the BMS is communicating with the charger, so which it is, but we need to make sure that it will also tell it to stop. We need to make sure the pump goes on when it's charging, and we also need to make sure that the 12-volt battery doesn't drain. So those are all little things we're gonna look into as well. So I don't know how you make this exciting, but we did get this charged all the way to the top, and the charging cycle completed, and everything turned off, which is great. I started the charge, I showed it at 6 minutes, and we were at 368 volts. Checked back at 50 minutes, we're at 373. Now you'll notice it's ramping down the current that we're charging from 10 amps to 5 amps. Then finally, it just stopped. So, which is great, that's exactly what we want. So that is super exciting. We did find one more thing we needed to fix, that is the pumps. We got the pump that goes on while it's charging, but the pump is just running off the 12-volt system. And it basically got to the point where the pump was no longer spinning, meaning it had completely drained the battery. So what we need to do is we need to turn on the DC to DC while we're charging, and then again, turn it off. So we'll probably have to do a little more driving, kind of deplete the battery a little bit, and we'll redo some wiring and try again. I have been rewiring some of the pre-charge circuit. So basically we wanted the pre-charge to come on when we are charging. When we're charging, the rest of the car's off. So the pre-charge was going through the T2C, that's the motor controller. So we've programmed into the BMS. So like if there's any faults, anything wrong, that it will put out a signal. What I've got is I've got that coming to a relay, and basically I'm doing kind of the normally open. So meaning if it sends the signal, it'll be closed. And then, so if it's closed, we've got it going through here. I've got a timer circuit. But basically, so when the car first turns on or when we're charging, first thing that happens is the negative contactor closes, as well as the pre-charge relay gets turned on, essentially allowing the pre-charge resistor to be charged and charge this side of the high voltage bus. And then again, like a second or 2 seconds later, it closes the positive and charge contactors. So I'll show you this real quick. It's going across the negative contactor. We're just doing continuity. We've got the high voltage turned off right now, but when we turn it on, it should go immediately. So again, that's good. All right, and now we're going across the charge contactor. And so you'll see it'll start at like, I think it's 50 or 5,000 or 50,000 ohms of resistance. And then after a second, it should go to something very low. So everything is behaving as we would like. So we've kind of rewired some things to have the DC to DC come on when it's charging, even when the car is off. So let's make sure that's working. Car is off right now. Make sure we can charge. So contactors went, pump's going. Sounds like the DC's on, and it looks like the charger's going. So we'll check real quick. So we've got the DC to DC on as well. Pump's going, so everything's working here for charging. All right, so I'm just checking to make sure nothing seems overly hot, any wires. But it looks like everything's good. Just the relays are a little warm. All right, and so basically this is inside the contactor box, the high voltage junction box. Again, nothing's looking too warm, just right around 30 C, which is just fine. So that's great. That's one more thing crossed off the list. We are fighting our way through some of these last problems. They always tend to take the longest, and yeah, this is no exception. So we've got a couple issues that we've had to deal with. One is around the battery management system. So for whatever reason, they're called LTCs dropped off. And I'm not exactly sure if they were damaged or not, but kind of retraced my steps. And I think it was when I was plugging in thermistors that all of a sudden things stopped working. So right now the thermistors are unplugged. I got new units, so everything's working, but I've not plugged those thermistors in. I did resistance testing as well as voltage testing, just in case like there was high voltage short somewhere that was killing it. Nothing seems out of the ordinary, but we're gonna keep looking. So that's kind of one issue. The light for it's kind of the check engine light, but instead of engine, we have a check motor light, but instead of that, it's check battery light. So again, if there's anything wrong with the BMS system, we want to alert the driver, and that one's not working right now either. So a couple things there we're working on. We'll keep going and let you know how things go. All right, we have the battery fault light working. So that's this light. Right now it's off, which is good because, like, I don't know if you can see over there, but the battery management system is green and happy. So we're gonna trigger a fault here. I'm just changing the settings so that there's a fault condition. And then the light comes on. You heard the clicks. That also means like the high voltage system shuts down. So we got things working well there. Go ahead and turn it back on. And then it goes away. High voltage kicks on and we're green again. So one more problem down. So the next series of problems really stumped us for a while, and they all had to do with kind of, I'll say, pulsing or flashing, essentially systems coming on and off. So I think we first noticed this with headlights. So found one more problem for whatever reason. Got flashing headlights.
And one is flashing more than the other.
One is more than the other? I took the vehicle out at night, turned on the headlights, it started backing out and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden it started flashing. And I just thought, oh, is there some sort of, anyway, have no idea what was going on. A separate but similar issue, when the car was on, like in the shop, we could also hear like pulsing, like all of a sudden the DC would kick off, then it would kick back on. It was like, because you hear the pumps going. I don't know if you can hear the fluctuation. So the power steering, it works great, but every once in a while it'll kind of cut out and then start again. So I'm gonna see if I can make it do it. So if I go all the way one way, you can hear it go. See, it cuts out completely, and then it starts again, and then it cuts out, and then it starts, cuts out. So I don't know quite what's going on there. It seems like it's only like if you go lock to lock, but I think there's other times where I've had it just kind of cut out. Like there, just cut out. So that was another one where we're just like, what is going on? So we finally figured it out. What it was is this car's got a smart wire system. So this is a PDU. For those of you who don't know, that is like an electronic fuse relay box. So you can program in like, hey, input 1 is a switch. You can say output 1 is turn on headlights, and you can actually set a fuse value like 10 amps. And what we were seeing is that a system would just barely cross that threshold. And the program is set up that like, hey, if the fuse trips, it says, go ahead and you know, wait 5 seconds and then retry. That's what was going on. Is the light would go off, then it would come back on, then it would go off, or the pump would go on, the pump would go off, DC would go on, DC would go off. So we had to go into that PDU and reassign some values, and then everything was great. Just got back from another drive, testing the windshield wipers. Probably need some new blades, but they work. Again, no faults with the controller, that's good. Power brakes seem to be working consistently. Again, I'm not gonna feel good until we do like 10 drives or something where it's consistent every time. I think things are looking pretty good. I really didn't want to have to do this, but I think I'm gonna have to get into each wiring loom and just trace all the wires through, because that's, I think, the only way I'm gonna know that essentially the 12 volt system is good. So probably won't do a ton of filming just because it's not super exciting to watch somebody dig through wire looms and fix wires, but wish me luck. Time has come to clean up a lot of this wiring that we've been intentionally putting off just because we need to access them, but I think it's time to clean them up. So this is the main wire that goes to the key, the ignition. So this one was never crimped on, so I don't know how much of that's causing our problem, but we'll go ahead and put a proper crimp on this one. There are also a few things we need to do with the frunk. We are so close, but we've got to fix a few things. So for this bottom post, it actually rests, or close to rests, on the subframe down there. And what we're going to do so it doesn't kind of rattle around, we've got a little rubber bumper that we're going to install. Essentially right now it kind of rests on these, but other than that it's just kind of a tight fit. So we want to actually secure it to the vehicle. So I've designed some metal rails to go in the slots on the side of the fender, kind of be sandwiched in between. All right, John's been installing our little rails here. This is what our frunk is going to be mounted on. Got one of these on both sides. It's just sandwiched in between this and this. Just got a thin piece of metal, but again, it's really rigid. And then we got some threaded inserts. So we're just gonna kind of cut out holes right where we need to. And that'll kind of sandwich in the fiberglass. We just had to do a little trim here and a trim up here. But basically this is all ready to go. I just need to drill out spots for these on here. And so I think what we'll do is we'll put it in place, we'll try and drill as close as we can, open them up. And basically the fiberglass will actually sit around here, and then we'll have a nice big washer and bolt that goes through that. So it'll actually be kind of sandwiched between here, so it shouldn't necessarily be pinching the fiberglass too much, it'll actually be sitting there nicely. And then that way this is nice and rigid on both sides. It'll also be kind of a bumper on the bottom, so it won't kind of bounce around there. And if you put heavy weight, it'll kind of take some of the weight off there too. One more thing we're going to do, this is a plug. So we're going to go ahead and drill a hole kind of at the lowest point and plug it up. That way if they ever want to use it like a tailgate cooler or whatever else, or they want to wash it, and this way they can always drain water or whatever they're looking to drain from it. Might be a little bit hard to see, but I guess that's kind of the point. But we've got the drain plug there at the lowest point. It's one other thing checked off the list. The next thing we need to do is put the holes in to mount this. So we're going to put this back in the truck, find the exact locations, drill out those holes. All right, so I've got my first one done. I'll just show you what that looks like. But basically this one gets kind of forced down right around that. That's what we're going to do for all the other ones. All right, so we got these ones all tight now. So this side's looking good. We'll go do the other side. All right, here it is on this side, all buttoned down. So again, this is now rigidly attached to the vehicle. Again, with this kind of member here that sits in between and is bolted to this, now bolted to this. So that's really good. We also have our plug, our drain plug. All right, here we are under the car, and that is where the rubber stopper is. So you can see the rubber stopper is sitting perfectly right on the subframe. You can also see how much more frunk space they could have had. The reason why we did not do that is you literally could not reach down and get things out of the bottom. So if you're on the side of the truck, you wanted to put something in, you could not reach it all the way to the bottom. So your arm length kind of ends way up there. It's the finishing touch. It's gonna get buttoned up for the last time. So we've been running Clifford for the last several days without any issues. So this is all wrapped up. We're getting it ready to go back to the customer. So we did it. This is it. This is the end. We've done lots of testing. We made sure all the systems work. This is going back to the customer now. We are in the process of loading the car. So it looks like it'll be going on the top here. It is loaded up. Man, it makes me nervous. But yep, it's all loaded up. Strapping it down. It's on its way back to the owner. That's it, the end. Got it all loaded up and on its way back to the customer. Farewell, Clifford. There it goes, just like that. So this was quite the effort. If you remember from the beginning, this started out with an electrical fire, had lots of going on. We were able to get it all sorted out, and hopefully the customer is very thrilled with this. It's working! So if you're looking to have your car electrified, we are on the lookout for more builds. So send me an email at electricsupercar@gmail.com. That's gonna do it for this time. See you next time. Oh dear.
I just realized I put these on backwards. Whoops.
All right, combing through some wires, found that beauty, just wrapped in some electrical tape. So we'll go ahead and do a proper crimp and seal that up.